Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Today, AMF head, Arthur Ashe, competition, tennis racket? Stay tuned. All right, sponsor of today. This is actually a Wishlist sponsor. At Trevor Wright. At Trevor Wright hooked us up with one of our Wishlist things, and it's the Biardo Tune Pro. I haven't seen my buddy Dan since his work wife left. So thank you, Trevor Wright, for hooking us up. We'll hopefully bring Biardo Tune Pro back and bring Dan back too along with it. So if you want to be my Wishlist sponsor or my coffee sponsor, network is buymeacoffee.com/tennis spin. You want to just hook us up? Super thanks is the way. Link is below. Thank you so much. Okay, so from what I read, Arthur Ashe, in the early 70s, probably late 60s, was wearing out and breaking his wooden rackets like within a week or less. And they were getting soft, they were breaking on him. Head decided to make him a non-wooden racket, which was aluminum and a composite of wood. And they called it the Arthur Ashe competition. I believe I have one here today. As you can see, it is aluminum out here. On the inside, it is a composite. So from what I know about this racket, it is like metal here and metal here, and it's kind of sandwiched into a composite of, I believe it's fiberglass, and other materials that's in the center. He won Grand Slam with something like this. This racket held up a lot better than wooden rackets. I believe this was the first racket that had a player's name on it, because it was called the Arthur Ashe composite. And then I believe there was one that came in as the composite or the composite edge, because it is kind of like blade-ish, edge-ish. Small head, super heavy. But back in the early 70s, this was cutting edge technology. Look at that small head, man. I think that's like 80 or smaller. Check the strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 16 by 20. Wow. I think that's the first 16 by 20 I've ever seen. That's prior to 80 or even 90, actually. As you can see, it's like a power pad right there, power pad right there. They didn't do power pads here though. This was definitely restrung, and this actually feels like it's a rough kind of a string. It's a rough string. I wonder if it's a poly. Kind of feels like a poly. Wow, somebody strung this with poly. I wonder how this is going to feel. The original leather grip is still on here. 4 5/8. Wow, big grip. Feels like a half in today's thing. Look, AMF head. Coach Rob.
What's up, Harry?
New toy?
New toy.
What are we doing?
Well, we've been hitting and you keep telling me how flat a ball I hit, so I thought I better get some topspin in get my little more roll to my shots.
The coach is getting fed some balls by, what is this thing?
fast track tennis, Harry.
Wow.
That I can come in, I can hit volleys, I can work on my drop shot since we've been watching so much clay. Come around and go backhand. You can come to the net, hit a forehand.
FastTrackTennis.com is the way to get your own. Link is below. You could literally be hitting this all day long.
Until the power runs out or you hit all the balls over the fence.
Or until you get some topspin. For some reason, I've asked a bunch of people, like, why, like, there's no writing on this. I think they faded off because everybody tells me there should be a red line around, and I've seen pictures of it, but I've actually never seen a racket with the red line or the writing. They're all kind of faded just like this. So, well, let's go out and try it. All right, I'll see you on the court. All right, so we just got off the court. Had a lot of fun with this one for sure. We shankopotamused everything, and it had a interesting feel. It's kind of the same feel, whether you hit the string or the frame.
Well, my last shot, I thought I broke it because it was such a shank. But yeah, hats off to the old head. I don't remember the name of it. I just remember being in the Arthur Ashe racket. And hats off to him, rest in peace. He won Wimbledon, I believe, with this. So if it was good enough to win Wimbledon, definitely we should hit with it. And it was fun to play with. Yeah, it was.
Control power, what'd you get?
I'd probably say I had a little bit of power.
A lot of control.
Yeah, had a good amount of control. Had a little bit of power with the, kind of just the way it's built. But yeah, it's fun to hit with. Yeah.
All right. You were not even in your parents' thoughts when that racket was. Maybe your parents wasn't born yet either, actually. Talk to me, Jerod.
Yeah, so again, with a lot of these old school style rackets, the first thing that always comes to mind is the super long throat. So that was an interesting thing to find on this one. And yeah, super small head size. So I think it is very difficult to, I guess, hit the center of the racket unless you pay attention and make sure you keep your eye on the ball. For me, I just did find the rackets also be super flexible. I think a lot of the rackets back in the day were definitely tailored as flexible rackets, and rackets today are more, graphite oriented and have more stability. So this one definitely did not favor my ground strokes, aka the more modern day swing. I think it's more favored towards the old school continental grip on both sides. But when I did try playing flatter with this, it did complement, I guess, my strokes a lot better. And one thing I did love with this thing was the backhand slice. It did feel really good and felt very clean. So I think if you just have the clean stroke and the old school style stroke, I think it will work well. And unfortunately with the modern day swing, I think this one will not be so forgiving. But yeah, that was an interesting play test, and this one was actually not a bad one.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you, Coach Jerod. The slice was surprisingly stable. I think it's because of all the weight that's around it. As long as you catch the strings, it'll actually just cut back and kind of stay low. So I think this, like you said something when you were playing with it, it's like it caters to the one-hander. Did you say that?
I think Coach Rob did.
Coach Rob, yeah. It caters to that one-hander that kind of brings it down like this and through because of all the weight that it has. It was actually fine if you just let go of it too on at least the one-hander. The forehand was a little interesting with my my Western, I had to make sure I wasn't first looking up at the birds, like what you said, and then second, I had to make sure that I actually took it out in front of me. But the weird thing was, and I'm going to repeat it, whether I hit the frame or the strings, it sounded the same.
I will agree with that. I could not tell if Harry was hitting the strings or the frame of the racket.
I was like, frame, string, frame, string. Like, who knows what happened? As long as, I mean, the ball went over the net, which was fine, but the sound, which I'm very touchy-feely about, couldn't tell for sure. And Coach Rob, I don't know if we're going to show it, but on one of his backhand slices, I was like, broken string. And we looked at it. It wasn't broken string.
That's the one I thought I broke the frame.
Oh.
That was a rough swing.
Yeah. I was like, broken string. No broken string. But, I mean, I love rackets like this that brings kind of history back to us.
Absolutely.
And, Arthur Ashe, thank you for, bringing the game forward and bringing it to a bigger audience and population. So rest in peace, and thank you. And, you're in our thoughts with this racket, okay?
Definitely.
Thank you, Coach Rob, for hanging out with me today and playing with a little bit of history. Coach Jerod, where can we find you, buddy?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Ma Tennis.
All right. Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.